Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, January the 6th. Now, we got a pretty short Thursday slate. We just got a little 4-game slate. But as always, guys, we're going to go through each one of these games. We're going to break down each of these teams, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like at first look, taking a first look at this slate on Wednesday night. And then as we go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players at first look that I specifically like for both DraftKings and for Yahoo. Now, as always, if you enjoy these first look videos, if they are helpful to you, you want more content from me, I do provide a lot more additional content over on Patreon. You can check that out. It's linked down below in the description. Get access to my full updated core plays that I usually post about an hour before lock. You can get in our Discord chat where you can ask me questions throughout the day. I'm always in Discord to answer questions. Also, I give my positional plays, my favorite plays at each position. I give my rankings, my top 20 plays of the day ranked in order of interest. So like my favorite value plays, my favorite studs, you'll always see those guys at the top of the rankings. And then I also give out some of my favorite picks each day for Prize Picks. So if you're new to the channel, if you're new here and you have not checked out Prize Picks yet, go check them out. They are the sponsor of this video. You can sign up for Prize Picks and use code NOAH when you do, and they will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. And you can take a look at what Prize Picks has to offer. You can make some picks on their site for NBA. They have other sports as well, NFL, college football, college basketball, soccer. I mean, they have every sport imaginable. You can mix and match sports as well. It's very simple. You just pick the over or the under on players' projections. So as you can see, they already have some stuff posted for Monday or for Thursday night's games. They got some stuff posted for this Suns Clippers game, so you can take a look at some of these some of these props. You can also take a look, later in the day. They'll have a lot more props posted. Probably early Thursday morning, they'll have their full board posted with point projections, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made. They'll have fantasy point projections as well. And again, you just pick the over or the under. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So go check them out, guys. Sign up, use code NOAH. And if you want some of my favorite picks each day on Prize Picks, along with the entries that I am playing myself, I give those out on Patreon. That's another benefit of being a Patreon member. If you want to check out the Patreon, again, it's linked down below in the description. But let's take a look at Thursday's little 4-game slate. We're going to start off with the Celtics and Knicks game and start off on the Celtics side. So in Boston today, we want to keep an eye on the injury report here because Boston is on a back-to-back, and obviously Jason Tatum's coming back from COVID protocols. I would assume he's going to play here, but keep an eye on potential guys getting ruled out on a back-to-back. If everyone plays, though, there really isn't much that stands out from Boston because they're almost at full strength right now. I mean, the only guy that's listed out for today is Peyton Pritchard. They got Tatum, they got JB, Robert Williams, Al Horford, they're both playing. So I don't see too much I really like on the Celtics today. Tatum in tournaments I think is fine. In his first game back from protocols, he really wasn't limited at all. He played 38 minutes. He was not great. He only had 38 DraftKings points in that time, but I think Tatum should play normal minutes here. I think he's a fine pay-up option, but not a priority play for me. Same could be said for Jaylen Brown. I think now that Tatum's back, Jaylen Brown is a little overpriced, I think. Robert Williams is $7K, Al Horford is $6,900. I think both those guys are probably priced where they should be, if not a little bit overpriced. And Smart and Schroeder, I don't have much interest in. So, yeah, the Celtics in general are a team I'm kind of just not that high on today. The Knicks side, though, there are some guys I do like from the Knicks today. I think Julius Randle at 10K is a decent pay-up option here. In his first game back from COVID protocols, again, he was not limited either. He played 39 minutes and was really productive, had 59 DraftKings points against the Pacers. The matchup against Boston, I don't think is great for Julius Randle, but he should play big minutes. We know Julius Randle can handle playing 36, 40 minutes a night. Given he played 39 minutes last game, I think we get upper 30s in minutes from Randle. So at 10K, I do like him as one of the better pay-up options on this slate. It's obviously only a 4-game slate, so we don't have a ton of spend-up options, but I definitely like Julius Randle, and especially on Yahoo. If you play over there, Julius Randle is very affordable. He's only $36 at the power forward position. I definitely like Julius Randle at that Yahoo price. I think he really stands out. If you compare his salary to Jason Tatum, he's $10 cheaper than Jason Tatum, whereas on DraftKings, those two guys are almost the same price point. On Yahoo, you're getting some big savings from Tatum to Randle, so really like Randle on Yahoo, for sure one of my favorite plays from this Knicks team. And I think, RJ Barrett, Alec Burks both look appealing too. Now, RJ Barrett had a massive game last game. He literally could not miss. In the first quarter, he had I don't know how many points in the first quarter, but I think it was 15 or 16 points. He got off to a really hot start, had a great game in general, played a ton of minutes, played 42 minutes, had 48 DraftKings points. I think without Kemba and without Derrick Rose, there is going to be opportunity for RJ Barrett. Kemba and Derrick Rose are two guys that do demand a little bit of usage. They will have the ball in their hands a lot. So you should see more opportunity for RJ Barrett. The minutes should be there on a nightly basis. I think at 6K, he's still a decent option. Alec Burks, though, I do like a lot. So Alec Burks is 5,900 on DraftKings. I think that's just too cheap for Alec Burks today. And on Yahoo, I really like him on Yahoo. If you want to play him over there, he's $18 at the point guard position. So we did actually see Alec Burks start at point guard last game. They had went with Miles McBride. Miles McBride was starting at point guard, but the game before, they started Miles McBride, and then in the second half, they played Alec Burks over McBride. Well, last game we saw them actually start Burks over McBride, and Burks played a ton. He played 36 minutes, had 33 DraftKings points. We know Alec Burks can be productive when he's on the floor, and especially when he's the point guard. Without Kemba, without Derrick Rose, whenever Burks is on the floor, he's going to be the guy that has the ball in his hands, bringing the ball up the floor. He can do a little bit of everything. He can score. He can get some rebounds. Can get some assists. I think 5,900. If we expect Alec Burks to play mid to high 30s minutes here as a fantasy point per minute player, he looks like a pretty good option at 5,900. So I definitely like Alec Burks quite a bit on the slate. And then the rest of the Knicks, I'm not too high on. Mitchell Robinson last game, 25 minutes, 18 DK points. It just hasn't been that great this year. His minutes have been all over the place. Not much interest in him. Fournier is just like a dart throw. I mean, Fournier, if he's not hitting shots, he's really going to do nothing because he doesn't do anything else except shoot. And when he's not shooting the ball well, we'll see him have really bad games. We'll see him get his minutes cut. Fournier is one of these guys that if he comes out hot and starts making a ton of shots, like they'll play him big minutes, but that's just the risk you take when you roster Fournier. I think he's playable, but not a ton of interest there. I think Randall, Burks, and Barrett are the three guys that really stand out from this Knicks team. We can move on to the next game, talk about the Pistons and the Grizzlies. So in Detroit today, their main three guys, Sadiq Bey, Hamidou Diallo, Cade Cunningham. On this slate, I don't think any of these guys stand out as like great plays. Now, Detroit did get blown out by Charlotte on Wednesday, so none of these guys really played their full minutes. Sadiq Bey really struggled, only 27 minutes, just 19 DraftKings points. Hamidou Diallo played 24 minutes, just 16 DK points from him. Cade Cunningham was the best of the three. He played 26 minutes, had 33 DK points. Obviously, these guys did not play their full minutes because it was a blowout Wednesday. I think if this game stays close, we will see mid to upper 30s in minutes from all three of Bey, Diallo, and Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is definitely my favorite just because I think long-term he's the best point-per-minute player of the three. We saw while Cade was out, Sadiq Bey and Hamidou Diallo were crushing like every single night. I think now that Cade is back, Cade takes up a lot of usage. He has the ball in his hands a lot. He's the guy that I would like most if I was going to play one of those Detroit guys. I think right now, Sadiq Bey and Hamidou Diallo, at over 8K, it's really hard to consider those guys really good plays at their price points. They're just overpriced right now. Trey Lyles, though, I do want to talk about from this Pistons team. So Trey Lyles has been starting at center. Now, we will need to keep an eye on the status of Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart has cleared COVID protocols, but he was held out of Wednesday's game for conditioning. Given it's a back-to-back, I think Isaiah Stewart probably doesn't play today. They just hold him out again. And if that's the case, if Trey Lyles winds up starting at center again, the last two games he has started at center and he's played 34, and then obviously Wednesday it was a blowout, so he only played 24 minutes. But he's been productive, 26 DK points, and then last Wednesday against Charlotte had 27 DK points in only 24 minutes. I think if Lyles starts at center, we can probably expect him to play low to mid-30s minutes, and at 5K, I still think he looks like a pretty decent value play, especially on DraftKings where you have power forward and center eligibility, so you can play him at multiple positions. He's a center on Yahoo, which really sucks, but he's really cheap over there, so it's kind of hard to ignore Trey Lyles. He's only $14. I think he looks like a pretty good value on Yahoo as well, and this is all dependent on Isaiah Stewart's status. Again, Isaiah Stewart did not play Wednesday for conditioning. I think Isaiah Stewart probably sits out again, and then he'll probably play in their next game. But keep an eye on this. If Isaiah Stewart winds up playing, obviously that would take me off of Trey Lyles. We'll just have to wait and see what kind of news we get out of Detroit. But that's probably it for the Pistons. I don't see too much else I really like here. Trey Lyles is definitely my favorite play from this team, assuming he starts again. And then Cade Cunningham I think is a fine option, and that's probably it from Detroit. So on the other side of this game, we can talk about Memphis. So with Memphis, John Morant coming in at 9,200. I think John Morant's right up there with like Julius Randle as some of the better pay-up options on this slate. I think 9,200 for Ja is probably too cheap when you compare his price tags to guys like Tatum, who Tatum's over 10K. Jaylen Brown is priced similarly to John Morant. I think I'd take Ja straight up over Jaylen Brown. You potentially could have Steph on the slate, but it doesn't seem like Steph's going to play today. He's questionable, probably leaning towards doubtful. So that's going to be a pay-up option that we probably don't have available. There's not a ton of studs on this slate. I think Ja Morant looks like one of the better pay-up options. 9,200 on DraftKings. On Yahoo, he's coming in at $40 over there. I think you can definitely play Ja on Yahoo as well. We've seen Ja be really, really good since coming back from COVID protocols, coming back from his injury. He's been playing big minutes too, been really, really productive. 48, 66, like at least 48 DraftKings points in 5 straight games for Ja. The minutes have been there as well. 34 minutes, 32 minutes, 34, 34, 36 minutes. So he's going to play probably mid to high 30s minutes if this game stays close. And right now, Memphis, they are kind of dealing with some injuries. Desmond Bane's listed as doubtful for today, so Desmond Bane is not expected to play, which is kind of a big one because Desmond Bane does play a lot of minutes, and he also takes a good amount of shots when he's on the court. So getting him off the floor should allow for even more shot attempts for Ja, even more usage for him. Dylan Brooks has been in COVID protocols. He could potentially return today. I think if he comes back, that's not going to impact Ja too much. I still think Ja would be a really good play. But like in a scenario where like Bane and Brooks and Melton, like all these guys are out, I mean, we should expect a massive workload for Ja. And against a Pistons team that obviously is really bad, overall really bad defensively, I think it sets up really well for Ja. So I like him quite a bit. The rest of Memphis, I'm not excited about many of these other guys. Like Triple J always has upside. He's a really volatile player. He has like a 40, 45 point ceiling, but he also has a very low floor just because of how much he gets in foul trouble. And we see him have games where he only plays like 20, 22 minutes because he's in foul trouble. But against the Pistons, like it wouldn't be surprising to see Triple J do well today. So I think he's a viable tournament option. I think Steven Adams at 5,400 is okay. He probably plays like mid to high 20s minutes. Probably is going to score 28, 30 DraftKings points. I do kind of question the ceiling on Steven Adams at this price point. I don't think he's a guy that I'm really going to ever be running to roster, but he's at least viable if you want to go there. Definitely keep an eye on like Bane and Brooks so obviously Bane's doubtful, not expected to play. If Dylan Brooks sits, if D'Anthony Melton sits, like if there's a scenario where Bane, Brooks, and Melton are all out, I think we would see a lot of minutes for Tyus Jones, even if he comes off the bench. Tyus Jones played 25 minutes last game. He only played 19 the game before that. But now you got to think in a scenario where they don't have Dylan Brooks, potentially they don't have D'Anthony Melton, and then obviously Desmond Bane's doubtful. That's a lot of minutes to go around. I think Tyus Jones would be one of the biggest beneficiaries. He would probably play mid to high 20s minutes if all those guys are out. So definitely keep an eye on that news because if those guys do all get ruled out, Tyus Jones for 4,100 would be a pretty decent value play, I want to say. So I would have interest in him if Melton's out, if Brooks is out, and then Bane, I'm expecting him to be out. But that's probably it for Memphis. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Golden State and New Orleans. So Golden State today, big news here with Steph Curry. So we did get word that Steph Curry is uncertain to play for Thursday's game. This is obviously a back-to-back for the Warriors. We've seen in previous back-to-backs this year, they have rested Curry. I think, I know it was pretty recently they sat Curry on a back-to-back. I think the most likely scenario is Curry does not play today. I wouldn't be surprised if they rest some other guys too. Obviously, it's a matchup against the Pelicans, one, where I don't think the Warriors really need Steph. Like, I think they could beat this Pelicans team even without Steph. So I think there's a pretty good chance Steph doesn't play today, which is definitely going to benefit guys like Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole would for sure be the biggest beneficiary, and assuming that Steph is out, 5,800 for Jordan Poole. He looks like a really, really good play on the slate. And on Yahoo at the shooting guard position, I think he stands out. Looks like a great option there, $20 on Yahoo. I would like Poole quite a bit if Curry sits. Now, obviously, nothing's confirmed yet. We're going to have to pay attention here, but given the news that he's uncertain to play, it's a back-to-back. Steph's kind of been struggling lately too. I think they hold him out here, and they just give Jordan Poole a start. I think we see Jordan Poole play big minutes. He's been really good in the minutes that he has played without Steph. He's been really productive in those minutes. Jordan Poole is a pretty high usage player. He's a guy that can soak up a lot of usage when another high usage player is out. So I'm expecting a heavy workload for Jordan Poole today if Steph winds up sitting. At 5,800, he would be a really, really good option. I think Andrew Wiggins would get a boost as well, assuming he plays. Andrew Wiggins at 6,800 could be a guy worth going to. His usage should go up without Steph if Steph winds up sitting. So I definitely would have interest in Wiggins. Now I don't think Draymond's role really changes. If anything, having Steph not out there or not having Steph out there is probably bad for Draymond, just because Draymond's not a very scoring, or not like a scoring heavy player. He's not a guy that's going to demand the ball. He's not a guy that's going to, take a ton of shots. He's not really going to create his own shot for himself. Draymond, he has his big games when he gets a lot of rebounds. He gets a lot of assists. And we know he gets a lot of assists passing the ball to Steph Curry. Not having Curry out there, a really good shooter, does Draymond, does that hurt him? I think it might, honestly. You could probably look at like the on-off splits. I'm sure with Curry off the floor, Draymond's fantasy production is probably actually worse. So I don't think Draymond would really get a boost if Curry winds up sitting. He'd be viable, but I would definitely more so be looking to Wiggins and Poole, and especially Poole he would really stand out. And then Gary Payton at 4,800, I think is still fine too. Gary Payton's still been starting. They have been bringing Poole off the bench lately, but obviously if Curry does not play today, I would expect they start Poole. But Gary Payton's been coming off the bench, playing around 30 minutes. He's been pretty productive in the starting lineup, and you would have to think without Steph, there'd be a little bit more opportunity for Gary Payton. So yeah, 4,800, I would have a little bit of interest in him. And that's probably it for Golden State. I don't see too much else I really like here. Damian Lee as like a dart throw off the bench could be fine, but that's probably it. This team is definitely, it's all going to depend on if Steph plays or not. If Steph doesn't play, there's going to be a lot to like from Golden State. The guys we just talked about. If Steph winds up playing, then there isn't really much I like here. Steph himself could be a fine GPP play, same with Draymond, but I'm banking on Steph not playing today, given it's a back-to-back, and they already said he's uncertain to play. But we'll talk about the Pelicans side now. So looking at the Pelicans, J-Val at 8,800, I think it's a pretty solid play here against Golden State. Now, Golden State this year has been pretty good, like limiting centers and defending centers. Draymond's a really good defender. I know Kevon Looney defensively can be solid. I think J-Val at 8,800, not like a priority option, but if you look at the center position today, like especially on Yahoo, on Yahoo you don't really have like dual position eligibility. I mean, your center options today are like J-Val, Robert Williams, Steven Adams, Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, if you want to go cheap, you have Trey Lyles. There's not a ton of standout center plays today, so I think J-Val, if you can fit him, is definitely a fine play, and he's probably my favorite play from this Pelicans team in general. I think Brandon Ingram at 8,100 is solid. I think he's a little bit too cheap, and we saw Ingram these last few slates be priced over 9K. He was 9,600 last slate against Phoenix, had a really bad game, but now the price tag has come way down to 8,100. So I think at 8,100, this is a lot more reasonable price point for Brandon Ingram. I don't love the matchup against Golden State. Golden State has been one of the better defensive teams this year, but I still think Ingram's an okay play at 8,100. Josh Hart should play a lot of minutes if the game stays close at 6,400. Another guy that I'm fine with. He's been pretty productive. Is a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Can contribute in all categories. At 6,400, I think he's priced where he should be, but still have some interest in Josh Hart. And that's probably it from New Orleans. I think J-Val, Ingram, Hart, the three guys I'm really looking to here. Outside of those three, don't see too much else I like on the Pelicans. So we can move on to the last game of the night, talk about the Clippers and the Suns. So looking at the Clippers today, they're still going to be without Paul George, still going to be without Zubac, Luke Kennard. Obviously, Paul George being out is the big one. We kind of know who that benefits at this point. It's Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, Marcus Morris. These are the guys that really benefit without PG. Now, Reggie Jackson, his price point has come way down. We saw him be 8,100. These last few slates, his price tag went down a little bit against Minnesota to 7,300. Now it's come all the way down to 6,100. Like 6,100 is pretty cheap for Reggie Jackson, especially without Paul George. I know he hasn't been good as of late. He's really been struggling. The minutes have kind of been a little inconsistent too, but I think if this game stays close, we do get probably low to mid-30s minutes from Reggie Jackson, and I think he should be productive when he's on the court, especially playing without PG. So I definitely have some interest in Reggie Jackson. I think Eric Bledsoe's a fine option too. I would prefer Jackson straight up, but Bledsoe's been good lately. He's been producing well. He should continue to produce at a pretty good rate without Paul George on the floor. So don't mind Eric Bledsoe. I think Marcus Morris at 5,600 is probably the most reliable of those three that we just talked about. He's been the most consistent of the three between Jackson, Bledsoe, and himself. Morris has been very solid without Paul George. He's been one of the focal points on offense. He's been taking a ton of shots every night. Been getting rebounds too. 5,600, like the price tag came down a little bit. I think all these Clippers guys do feel a little bit too cheap today. Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, even Terrence Mann at 4,900, I don't mind as a value option. He should play probably low to mid-30s minutes. Terrence Mann, you never really know what you're going to get from him, but the minutes should be there at least, and that's what we really want to focus on is minutes. And he's going to be on the court a lot because they need him out there without Paul George, without Luke Kennard. We should expect Terrence Mann to start and play low to mid-30s minutes. So at 4,900, I think he's in play. And that's probably it from the Clippers. Serge Ibaka's been starting at center lately. Last game he played 20 minutes. The game before that, 22. Like, his minutes have not been that great even in the starting lineup. So even though he had a decent game and only 20 minutes last game, I probably don't go to Ibaka today at 4,400. Like, I would probably just rather play Trey Lyles, assuming that Trey Lyles starts. But I guess the potential is at least there for Ibaka just because he is starting at center. And I think if he does play really well, they probably give him more than like 20 minutes. He probably plays like 28. But at 4,400, like, he's not really like a standout play today. I think Reggie and Marcus Morris for sure, like my two favorite plays from the Clippers. And then on the Phoenix side, looking at the Suns today, so Devin Booker is coming in at 8,700. Devin Booker, at this price point, I don't think it's like a standout play. Now, obviously, we know Devin Booker has a big ceiling. He's one of these guys that can go out there and put up 50, 55, 60 DraftKings points any night. But he also has a pretty low floor. We've seen a lot of 35, 40-point games from Devin Booker. At 8,700 at this price tag, I mean, you're looking for probably 50 plus from him. Can he go out there and put up 50 plus? He absolutely can. On this slate, I don't know if Devin Booker's like a standout play today. Given the savings, I would much rather play Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker, pretty much every slate, are going to project very identically. They're going to project very similarly, maybe 1 or 2 points off each other. With the big savings, you're getting $1,400 cheaper. Like, I think I'd just take Chris Paul over Devin Booker. I think $7,300 for Chris Paul is definitely too cheap. Like, there's no reason for him to be this cheap with Booker being $8,700. I know Paul maybe hasn't shown as high of a ceiling as Booker has, but he's been very consistent. 40 DK points in 3 of his last 5. Even in that blowout against Charlotte, he had 40 DK points. Had 40 DK points last game against the Pelicans. We know Chris Paul, when he's on the floor, he's going to get points. He's going to get a ton of assists. He's going to play relatively good minutes, 32, 35 minutes if it's a close game. 7,300. I think that's too cheap for Chris Paul today. I like him quite a bit as a mid-range guard option. If you want to play him on Yahoo, you could definitely play him over there. I will say, though, that on Yahoo, him and Booker are like the same price tag. Booker's 34, Paul is 33. Basically, on Yahoo, you can kind of flip a coin, maybe side with Booker, but on DraftKings, given the savings, I think I'd take CP3 over Booker today, given the price difference. And then the rest of the Suns, so Cam Johnson at 5,300, while Ayton, McGee, Kaminsky, Crowder all still out, I mean, Cam Johnson should start and play probably low to mid-30s minutes. He's a guy that I don't really like playing that often just because he's kind of a scoring-dependent player, but he's a really good shooter. When he does get open looks, he normally knocks them down. He can rebound as well. I think 5,300, he's probably priced right around where he should be, but I still think he's viable just because he is going to start and play probably mid-30s minutes, which on a 4-game slate is going to make him in play. And then Jalen Smith, so last game he got into some major foul trouble guarding J-Val. Going up against Ibaka here, I don't think the foul trouble concern should really be there for Jalen Smith, so I would expect his minutes to go way back up. He only played 16 last game. I'd expect him to get back to probably like 26, 28 minutes. So 5,300, if we do get like 28 minutes from Jalen Smith, he's been pretty productive as the starting center. I mean, you look at his game log, 28, 35, 29, 39 DK points, put up 22 in only 16 minutes last game. So I definitely like Jalen Smith at 5,300. I wouldn't worry about last game. Obviously, he was in major foul trouble. I'd expect guarding Ibaka here, he shouldn't probably have to worry about foul trouble. So we should get like high 20s minutes from Jalen Smith, which does make him a pretty decent play at 5,300. And then I do want to mention Bismack Biyombo. Bismack Biyombo obviously really benefited last game with Smith getting in foul trouble. He played the other 29 minutes that Smith was not on the floor. We've basically seen them just kind of split Biyombo and Smith at center. I think we probably get 28 minutes from Smith today and 20 minutes from Biyombo. On a 4-game slate, 20 minutes from Biyombo at 4K I think is fine. Biyombo has been pretty productive so far this year with Phoenix when he's gotten playing time in the 2 games he has played. So I think on this slate specifically, Biyombo, 20 minutes from Biyombo would normally not be something I'd be targeting, but on a 4-game slate with lack of value, at least right now, I think Biyombo is at least a playable option. And obviously, if by some chance Jalen Smith gets in foul trouble again, Biyombo would be a big beneficiary there, and obviously we saw that be the case last game. More of a GPP dart throw, but I think Bismack's at least playable on a short slate like this. But that's it, guys. That's it for these 4 Thursday games. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, please do hit the like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well if you have not yet. Go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will match your first deposit. They'll give you a free bet up to $100 when you sign up with my code. You can take a look at what PrizePicks has to offer. You can take a look at their NBA board for Thursday. You can take a look at some of their other boards, NFL, college football. They have other sports as well, PGA. You can mix and match sports. You can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. If you have not yet, go sign up over there and use code NOAH when you do so. You get that 100% match on your first deposit. And also, if you want some of my favorite picks each day on PrizePicks, I do give those out on Patreon, along with the entries that I am playing myself. So if you want, my entries that I'm playing with my favorite picks, you can check out the Patreon. Link down below in the description. That's all available over there, along with all of my other updated DFS content. But that's it, guys. So 4-game slate today. Hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. We will see you back again on Friday. I think we had a much bigger slate Friday. We will see you guys then. Best of luck tonight. Peace.